Harding. Welcome to my blog .stampwithelaine.com and welcome to this week's Fun Friday project. Last week I featured the popcorn thinlits dies and showed you how to make and assemble an ordinary popcorn box. This week I'm going to show you how to resize that box and make it into a much smaller one. The normal size popcorn box is an open top box, but with it being made smaller, it allows you to have it covered so it looks like a mini take-out box. Let's gather our supplies. We need the Love and Affection stamp set, popcorn thinlits dies. We'll be using the popcorn box die and one of the label dies. We'll need half a sheet of A4 Whisper White cardstock. This is the thicker one. Emerald Envy scrap. Playful Palette Designer Series paper stack. They measure 6 by 6 inches and in centimetres that's 15.2 by 15.2. There are 4 each of 12 double-sided designs. So we're only going to be using a tiny strip, and this is the pattern I've chosen. Inks I'm using are Sweet Sugar Plum, Emerald Envy and Peekaboo Peach. We're also using the Playful Palette Designer Washi Tape, and I'm using that one. The 3 by 6 or 7.6 by 15.2 centimetres cello bags. The new 2016-2018 in colour enamel shapes, Blossom Bunch Punch, Simply Scoring Tool, mini gold clips. There are 10 in a pack and they're called gold binder clips, magnetic platform and your big shot. First I'll bring in a foam mat and some scratch paper. We're going to be stamping on the half a sheet first. And I'm going to be using this image here from Love and Affection in Sweet Sugar Plum, then in Emerald Envy I'm going to be stamping with this flower centre here, then with the same Emerald Envy ink I'm going to stamp this image here. Then I'm going to stamp this little flower here in Peekaboo Peach. I'm ready now to cut my popcorn box with the popcorn thinlits die. So I need to line up this straight edge with a flap facing towards the centre of the cardstock. Top cutting plate on top, ready to run it through the big shot. I've done one side, now I need to rotate it so the straight edge with a flap facing towards the centre, and I place it on the magnetic platform and the base plate. Whoops. With the straight edge buttered and aligned along the straight edge of the cardstock, top cutting plate, and I'm ready to run it through the big shot. My 2 pieces cut, I'm ready to score. So I'll bring in my template as it's easier to explain. This is your cut piece and you need to score 1.5 inches in from the top edge here and 1.5 inch in from the top edge here. In centimetres, that's 3.8 centimetres in from the top edges, both on this panel and that panel. I found the easiest way to do this was to butt up this edge so that it is flush with your guideline to the left of your scoreboard. And you go through the 1.5 inch mark here and you only score up to the score line on that panel there. So let's do that. Okay, now you've done that, you just keep your scoring tool on that same spot and rotate your cardstock so that this other panel is now flush with the guideline to the left, hard up against it, and you carry on scoring the rest of the way. And then you get two perfect measurements, 1.5 inch across there, 1.5 inch across there. Then keeping this score line where the flap is, flush with your guide on the left, you count 3 notches in, 1, 2, 3, which will give you the 3/8. Let's move that up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, which is your 3/8 score line, 3/8 inch score line, and you score from there up to this score line here. Okay, and that will give you your flap. I'll go through that again. You repeat it with this piece. That edge flush with this edge, 1.5 inches up to this score line. Rotate your paper so that this edge is now flush with that edge, and score to the bottom. Count 1, 2, 3, which is your 3/8 inch, and then score up to this score line. Now, for those of you who don't have the Simply scoreboard, the easiest way I can explain it is to butt up this line with the 1.5 inch mark along there, and then score up to this point, and then you need to flip it over, measure 1.5 inches again, and then score from there until the score line here. When you come to do the 3/8 inch one, then you need to line that up so that it is 3/8 of an inch, which will be this mark here. This is the 1/2 inch, so you need to be 1/8 of an inch short of that 1/2 inch mark. So in other words, it's actually 1 centimetre. So line that up so that it is parallel along that line, and you score down to this score line here. Now for the cutting of the flaps, you need to cut through that score line, up to this score line, cut this little rectangular piece, and notch it. This is now the flap of your box. Do the same for this one. And fold the flap down and follow that line and snip it off. I forgot one step. You should really do reinforce your score line, so let's do that. Okay, now that you've reinforced your score lines, it's easier to see, so then you can cut the excess off. Now can you see that? If you fold that back, you can cut the excess off. And do the same with this. The lid bit, so you do the same. And be careful you don't cut the flap. So fold that flap in, then fold that on top, and this is the excess you want to cut off. So fold the flap in, fold your lid down, and snip off the excess. Fold that in and snip off the excess. Next you want to put tear and tape on these panels. Take off the backing paper and fold back the excess inside so it doesn't overhang. Then butt up the two panels together. Fold these two panels back, and you need to put double-sided tape on those two panels. Upend your box with these two sides, fold it in, and you want to take the protective layer off the double-sided tape. Hold on to those two, tuck it in, okay, then squeeze the box and fold it flat, and you rub your fingers over it and it should stick to the sides pretty well. And there you have your box. So fold those flaps in, put some little mini stroop waffles in, and I can only fit 2 in a pack. So I've used the cello bags and I've used the washi tape to pop these in, and that gold binder clip holds it together. So let's make the label for it. More stamping, so my foam mat scrap. I'm using this sentiment, sending a smile your way, Emerald Envy. Bring back my scoreboard, and I'm going to score 3/8 of an inch from the end. Bring in my magnetic platform. I'm going to make that bigger. So the way to do that is place your die over the sentiment, extending beyond the edge of your cutting plate so that you're not actually going to cut through that section here. Top cutting plate on top, and place it short of this section here, and then it won't cut through. The reason I'm doing that is then it will give me a guideline on how far to extend my label. Can you see that it's only partially cut? I can extend that across. Now I have a longer label. Playful palette paper. I'm going to cut it inch across in width. Put some tape on the back of that and attach it to the Playful Palette DSP, and put a strip across the back of here. Trim it off by eye. Use the Blossom Bunch flower punch. I want this little flower there. Keep that. Punch again with Whisper White this time. Stamp the flower centre with Emerald Envy from Love and Affection. Layer it with Stamping Dimensional. Cut into quarters. Zhuzh up the petals and have it off centre. Glue dot on the back, onto the label, pop an enamel dot in the centre, take that off, glue it to the top of this box, say in the centre, use a bone folder and curl it. Emerald Envy ruched ribbon, tie a little knot, voila! I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe or share on Facebook, and my grateful thanks if you do. If you're watching from YouTube, you'll find the list of supplies I used below this video in the Show More section, with direct links to my online store. They will also be listed on my blog.stampwithelaine.com. You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.